There you go.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. Oh my gosh, it's so exciting to be here today. My name is Lily Winstead, for those of you that have not met me, and Bonnie Sachs is here with me. We're excited. This is our 6th episode in our series called Bodies and Channels. We've been talking about light bodies and the Claire channels, or we call them the divine channels. And this is our 6th episode. We really only have 1 episode left to go in this series, and then we're going to be on a hiatus. So we're very passionate about helping people to access their own information. Bonnie and I are always talking about that. So this is incredible to be here with you, to gift this program to you. We don't charge for it. It's a labor of love. And boy, do Bonnie and I pour our whole hearts and souls into this program. So thank you for being here tonight. Bonnie and I co-founded the 8th Chakra Company about 3 years ago, and our purpose is to help people remember who they are and to raise our frequency and master what it is to be human, because we all kind of figured out what it is to be spiritual. If we needed more information about being spiritual, we would have stayed in the spirit world, but we're here in this physical world to master what it is to be in these physical vehicles and mastering, because in a body is the only way we can raise our frequency and move up, up, up through the ladder of ascension, which is what we're all here to do. And Bonnie and I are both Akashic Records readers. We're experts at it, and we're also masters at alchemy. We have reached intermediate level mastery 2 for alchemy, and we're very excited to be able to bring these modalities to you today. This call is going to be filled with healing that you will receive. You will be receiving downloads, and sometimes we even do individual healings, but we're really here to provide a healing for the community called the 8th Chakra Company's community here tonight on this Tuesday night call, which we're going to be covering Clairsentient channels. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Go ahead.
Woohoo! It is awesome, and I get the pleasure of letting you know a couple of things that make us just a little bit different from other programs that you might find out there. The very first thing is that we work intimately with the angelic realm and with Melchizedek, and we have been talking about Melchizedek now for a little while. Just to clarify, Melchizedek is the I usually will say it's like the committee, the group of enlightened archangels. There are 12 of them that sit on that group, and we work with them to for them to hold the container, for them to do a lot of the additional healing and provide support. This is serious high frequency healing and wisdom that you are getting. Secondly, what we have done is we casted a circle of light prior to getting on the call with you all. And what that means is that we have set up the community here, and all of us are within the circle of light. When you leave, you are still a part of the circle. You'll still get all the healing. If something happens, if you get booted off the call, know that you're still getting all the information. You're getting all of the healing that is happening. And you can go back and listen to these calls over and over again and still get access to that. The last thing that makes us very different is that we set an intention. Lily and I bring a lot of purpose and intention to these phone calls. Like Lily said, we love helping people understand that we already know how to be spiritual. We're working on how to be human and what exactly all that means, and kind of understand the intertwining of the two. And we set the intention that you all walk away with a very clear understanding of whatever our topic is. And tonight we're going to talk about clairsentience. That is the clear channel of feeling. And so we're very excited about this conversation. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of healing. And why don't you explain to them how they can participate?
Absolutely. So this call is set up into 2 segments. The first half hour, Bonnie and I are going to be starting the conversation, and we're going to be talking about what we are coming up with information about the Clairsentient channels. And we want to open up the phones and the chat so that you can ask questions, because in the second half of the call, we are going to be invoking our souls and the angelic realm for bringing in the answers and the wisdom. And sometimes we even access, just in general, the Akashic realm, and as well as the ascended master realm. So we want to be able to bring the answers that you're looking for. So it's important for you to participate. The cosmos is infinite in its wisdom and intelligence. And so we want to be able to narrow things down. And clairsentience is a topic that's kind of a hot topic in the spiritual world, because a lot of people who look at themselves as empaths are not always necessarily too happy about being empaths, because they can feel pain, not necessarily their own pain, but the whole world's pain. And so we want to be able to elevate that conversation to a whole nother level, bring it to a very high frequency level, so that we can all begin to understand that clairsentience is another gift that Source has provided for us, that is given to us. And so we're going to embrace that concept. And so our intention for tonight is to really bring us close to that. And please, we ask for your participation. Is really, really important to us. And how you do that, at the bottom of your screen, if you scroll around, you'll be able to get the participants up on the right-hand side, and then you'll see a button where you can raise your hand, and you can also chat. There's a chat button as well. Between Bonnie and I, we keep kind of close contact with things. One of us will answer your chat question, or we'll bring it up in the conversation that we're having, or we'll unmute you and we'll hear your voice, which is lovely too. And that's how we'll do that. And then we're in the second half of the call, we'll give you a warning, so that if you do have a lingering question, we'll give you a little bit like a 5-minute warning when we're going to be shutting down the questions. All right, Bonnie.
All right. So I love that you gave them that little, the preview about, you know, the clairsentient channels are a little bit different than the other channels, because it seems like there's a lot of people out there that have this idea that, you know, clairsentience can be almost a curse. There's a lot of conversation about people who are empathic, people who are highly sensitive. And I am constantly moving around in the groups in Facebook, and it's really interesting because it seems like at least once a week there's some message that pops up that is like, who here is an empath and who can explain it? And I'm always the person, just in case you're in any of those groups, I'm the person who goes in and says, everybody is an empath. Everybody has clairsentient channels. And so it'll be really interesting to talk about that tonight, to make that a little more clear for everyone.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I just, for some reason, I just thought about this, Bonnie. When I was a little girl, I must have been like 11 or 12. And for those of you that might not know, I grew up in a home where my mom and dad own a Kabbalah school, and they taught very spiritual, metaphysical concepts from the time I was very young. I mean, I grew up into this. And I remember one time when I was 11 or 12, we were driving somewhere, and I began to feel like terror in my body. Like my heart started racing, boom, 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 racing. And my whole body was like in shock. I was feeling all this like tremendous amount of terror. I can't explain it any other way but terror. And so my dad noticed that what was happening with me, and he looked over to me and he said, "Are you okay, honey?" And I said, "I am feeling a tremendous amount of terror." And he said, and he just paused for a moment. He looked me straight in the eyes and he said, "That is not your terror." And I said, "Oh, really?" And he said, "No. Think for a second." He said, "We are going by a location where there was an accident 2 weeks ago. And the lingering energy of that accident is still here, and you're feeling it with your clairsentient channels." Now, he didn't use exactly that language, but that's what he basically said to me, is that it was not my terror. I was experiencing the terror that had been felt at this accident location that we were driving by 3 weeks after the accident had happened. Mm-hmm. And that's brings me into this conversation about sometimes we have feelings in our body and we automatically assume that it's our feeling. We have that with our thoughts. We have that with emotions. And so it's really important that when we have a thought or a feeling, that we don't automatically assume that it is our own, and that we ask our soul. If you listen to our Soul Basics program last week, you'll know that there is a connection that we have with our soul. And if we start to ask, if we get in the habit of asking our soul, is that my feeling? Is that my pain? Is that my sensation? Our soul will say yes or no. And then if it's a no, then we can then move on to say, okay, well, whose is it then? And then we can start to decipher that. and then not own a pain or a sensation that doesn't belong to us. And that's the first step to freedom from suffering from being a clairsentient person, which is a gift. So
absolutely is a gift.
I haven't thought about that in so long, Bonnie. I've not thought about that time in so long. It's so crazy that it came up right now.
Yeah, that is the perfect example of that. So let's talk for just a minute about your clairsentient channel. So every single person on the planet has clairsentient channels, and really, if we want to expand that, every being in the multiverse has clairsentient channels. It is a gift from Source Creator God, and our clairsentient channels are a lot like our clairvoyant channels and our clairaudient channels that we've already talked about. The channels are a grid system, and they I actually checked in this morning and got the information that they were light orange, and I love that Lily said, well, I see them as peach, and I'm like, that works for me, right? So however you happen to see those colors, what is a little bit unique about the clairsentient channels is that we also have these, I see them kind of like little satellite dishes in our pelvic region, kind of like around our first or second chakra. And these satellite dishes, for lack of a better word, actually are part of our clairsentient channels. And what a lot of people who are empaths do, who like really feel things intensely, is they turn those channels out and they start scanning the room. Some people scan the city. I've even heard of people who are constantly scanning the world. And if you are scanning that much, you are definitely going to find something that really, flips you out. You will find something that makes you feel terrible, terrorized, sad, something out there. And so what happens is you turn those channels out because you feel like there's something that you've got to watch out for. There's some, history that you're bringing forward that's like, if I'm not constantly on the lookout, something is going to happen to me. So those are the low frequencies that we're talking about. Those are the things that we want to help you heal from. Things that have happened to you in the past, reasons that you think that you need to look. It's fear, it's pain, it's anger, it's can be unworthiness, how something has happened to you in the past. And as we move more of those low frequencies, it's kind of like starting to oil the hinges on the clairsentient channels. And so, you can open them out and look and see, but then you can also close them and they're not stuck open. So hopefully that's kind of a great visual for you to get a sense of the clairsentient channels as we go on and talk about them.
I love to compare the olfactory channel to the clairsentient channels, because if you walk into a house and you smell bacon, I don't eat pork, so if I walk into a house and I smell bacon, it kind of puts me off a little bit. I don't like the smell of bacon, so it's like, I don't like that smell. So, but I know that if I'm walking into a house and I'm smelling bacon, it's not going to kill me. I'm not eating the bacon. It's not my bacon. I didn't make the bacon. I can smell it, but I didn't make the bacon. It's not my bacon. I can deal with that, even though I don't like the smell of it, right? But my olfactory sense is informing me that there is cooking going on and somebody is cooking bacon. It's information. And that's how I like to really look at our clairsentient channels, especially for those of you that might be very highly sensitive and empaths, like Bonnie was saying. If you walk someplace and you're feeling like a pain on your side, think about it like your channel is giving you information, just like your olfactory channel could be saying, hey, someone's making bacon. So if you feel pain in your side, you can ask, oh, wow, something's going on with somebody's side. Is that mine? Well, no, it's not mine. Okay, so whose is it then? And then you can start to distinguish and discern a pain that is not yours. And when you know that the pain is not yours, you can be free from that pain and you can actually step into a place of healing. Send love to that person once you identify who that person is that is actually that pain belongs to. And it's just a huge sense of freedom to be able to look at the clairsentient channels as information. It's one of the ways that the multiverse gives us information, just like all the other senses. There's no difference about it. It's just that we haven't been trained and we haven't been educated. Can you imagine if we went to school and we were taught in kindergarten and first and second grade that we have clairsentient channels, that we have clairvoyant channels? Can you imagine? One day that's going to happen. That's going to happen here on Earth, where that'll be part of the kindergarten and first grade curriculum, or it'll be something that is taught from our parents when we're babies. That, you know, I look forward to that day. I want to come back in 300 years when that's going on.
And you can certainly do that. I think you have just created a whole new phrase for us of, it's not my bacon, not my bacon. I absolutely love that, because I can actually hear us saying that, like, oh my gosh, I have got the worst pain in my neck. Oh wait, it's not my bacon.
I like that.
I do. I really like that. And that skill set of recognizing that it is not yours is invaluable. I was telling Lily earlier today that I was driving home from a meeting, and I had exactly that, a pain in my neck, and it was kind of my neck and my shoulder, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's more than I can stand. So I texted somebody who you know, there's lots of people that I can text and say, hey, can you help me with this? I've got a problem with that. And I texted someone, and they immediately texted back and said, oh my gosh, I've got the same pain. And I was like, oh wait, it is not mine. Could you please take it back? So I'm still in the process of learning how to use that skill set and ask whose it is. Remember to ask, right? Remember to ask whose it is, and then to figure out whose it is. If it's just me and somebody else sitting in the room, I have a really good chance of figuring it out. The part that I get kind of confused on is when there's a lot of other people in the room, and I literally start to go into a panic of, oh my God, there's so many people. Is it her? Or maybe it's him, or maybe, and then I start getting really like overwhelmed with it. So as you start to practice this, you know, if you don't get it right, be chill about it and know that that's okay. And if you find yourself getting into a bit of a panic like I do, like, I don't know whose it is, you know, take a deep breath and know that that's okay too. You can always ask for a healing on that, and then ask again when you have a little bit more clear channels.
One thing that I've discovered recently is in one of my sunrise walks recently, I got a message that said, if we love and embrace what is so, no matter how challenging, it becomes what we want. And it just reminded me about my channels too, because I have learned when I'm experiencing pain, I'm so grateful for it, because a lot of times I'll be in a private session with someone, and my clairsentient channels, because I'm experiencing the pain, and I feel movements in my head, in my shoulders, in my back, I feel it in my kidney, I feel it in various vital organs, and I know right away that it's my client. And so that guides me to understand what's moving for them in that vital organ, or in their central nervous system, or wherever. So I have just learned to utilize my clairsentient channels as channels of information, as I was saying earlier. And so sometimes if I'm in a room like that, Bonnie, when I'm with a bunch of people, and it's hard to know where is that, okay, it's not my pain, where is it coming from? Or like I have a headache, and all of a sudden I'm in a large room, I know it's not my headache, whose headache is it? And then I breathe, like you said, because that's really important, take a deep breath and trust. And then I say to my soul, okay, thanks for the information. What else do I need to know? I'm moving on now. Because it occurs to me like it's a tapping on the shoulders, like my soul is tapping me on the shoulders, trying to tell me something. Because otherwise I wouldn't be experiencing that person's pain. My soul's got to be trying to tell me something. My soul has a purpose for everything, and so does yours. And so if I'm experiencing that headache, it's because there's got to be a reason for it. Okay, so thank you for the information. What do I need to know? Thank you. What else do I need to know? Thank you. What else do I need to know? Okay, I'm moving on now. And then it's just kind of like you acknowledge your soul and let your soul know, okay, I got it. You're tapping me on the shoulder. Give me the information. Let me have the information. And now I can move on. And then my headache will disappear. And I often don't even need to know whose it belongs to, because it may not be necessary for me to know whose it belongs to. It's just necessary for me to acknowledge that my soul is trying to point something out to me. And then once I get the information from my soul, I can move on, which is like everything in our life. Once we get the teaching and the lesson about any experience, our soul is like, yay, you can move on now. Because our soul is not going to stop until we get the teachings that our soul is trying to give to us. So.
That's a really great point, that we don't have to figure it out. And that's a great teaching for me, for sure, because my personality really wants to figure it out. Like, well, you know, there's a problem here. There's a piece of information I don't know. And if I can figure it out, then I can feel better about myself. So that's absolutely fabulous information, and I hope all of you wrote that down, because it was really worthwhile. Thank you for the information. That is a really awesome perspective on it. The other thing that, as you were talking, I was like, you know, we're talking like all of the conversation about clairsentience is about us feeling other people's things, other people's feelings and issues. And our clairsentience really does have a big purpose for us. And Lily's talking a little bit about it just a moment ago, that, you know, we have clairsentient channels for us to know what is going on in our own bodies. That is one of the ways that our soul communicates with us. It's one of the ways that we know that we are healing something, or that there is something coming up for us to heal. So if, you know, I suddenly, you know, have a tickle in my throat or something in my throat, I know that there is something going on there. Now, it might be that something is moving out, and that's a very different thing than I need to go in and heal something. But it's really important for us to understand that our clairsentient channels are just another way for us to get information about what's going on in our body. It's another way for our soul to communicate to us.
Indeed. Okay, so we're at the 8-minute warning before we go into our second half of the call. So now's your opportunity to chat some questions or raise your hand, and we'll unmute you, or you can unmute yourself. We'd love to hear from you. One thing that I'm seeing right now is there's an awful lot of fear associated with not just the clairsentient channels, but all our channels, actually. And this fear comes from not only this lifetime when we were little, that we could see, we could hear, we could feel, and adults kept telling us, oh no, don't do that. You don't have any little invisible friends. No, that's not real. Oh no, you're not feeling that. No, you don't remember your dreams. No, that's not true. You're not experiencing memories from a past lifetime. That's not true. Shh. And then we get quieted down. So not just from this lifetime that we've been quieted down and our channels have become numb, but from other past lifetimes as well. So I think it's really important for us to remember and acknowledge that. And so that fear is one of the low frequencies that Bonnie and I were talking about earlier when we started the call. So I'm seeing some really beautiful frequencies coming through for us. And I'm seeing a combination of rose pink quartz and also cerulean blue coming through, and rainbow quartz coming through for everyone, and a lot of gold. And they're coming down through the crown, your crown chakra, and then moving down through the spine. And then they're kind of spiraling out and spreading out through the entire meridian system and the lymphatic system, which makes sense because one of the biggest organs where we experience clairsentience is in our skin. I mean, we experience it all over our body, but a lot of highly sensitive people will experience rashes and all kinds of things in their skin. And I think a lot of that is associated with the lymphatic system. So these frequencies are coming through into the meridian system and to the lymphatic system. And we're actually all getting a little bit of an upgrade on our lymphatic system and our meridian system. So that's really great. That's the channels through which energy moves through the meridians, are where energy moves through our bodies. And if any of you do yoga or chiropractic or acupuncture, you know about meridians, and it's just the way the energy moves through our electrical field. So we're getting a little upgrade and some crystal activations coming through for us. Woo, that's really awesome just before we go into the second half of the call. So very, very nice.
It's very nice. So Millie is asking the question, how do you know if it's not your pain? And often what you're doing is just asking the question and you're listening for the answer. That is the case with most of what we're talking about when you're talking to your soul, is you're asking a question and then you're listening to the answer. You're looking to have more information about it. So it is nothing more complex than that. Is that mine? I love that it can be just that simple. Is that mine? And then you listen for the answer. And if you can't hear the answer, then you ask, to have your channels cleared. Please clear my channels so that I can tell whether that is mine. And you continue. The more you practice that, the more skilled you become at that. Like I said, I'm still in the process of all that, but that's what the process is to ask the question. And then Gretchen is talking about when her crown chakra vibrates. It certainly can be your clairsentient channels that are being activated, but it can also be, your tantra channels, your sexual channels. There's a lot of different things that your kundalini could be activated to make you feel that like vibration. There's a lot of other channels that we have that can create that vibration, but absolutely your clairsentient channels can be doing that. When you are feeling love, I often get the shivers, like I'm cold, when I can feel that overwhelming emotion of love. And so it can be that as well. Your body has its own way of talking to you.
Yeah, and when those high frequencies are coming through, when you're sending love to the world or to a loved one, that love vibration definitely is experienced through your clairsentient channels. Absolutely. And then usually when light is coming through, it can often shake things up to move low frequencies, and that can be experienced as nausea. Somebody was asking about nausea. And that's what happens sometimes when those low frequencies are being moved. One of the things that I have noticed is that when we are clearing low frequencies, oftentimes they're concentrated between the second and the third chakra. And that's because in the lower chakras, I believe, is where a lot of lower frequencies hang out. We have low frequencies all over our body, but in this physical realm and this time and space, because of culture, because of society, because of family, because of so much stigma around sexuality and around sensuality and around power, the power, that's all, and around being grounded in our bodies. And so that's all first, second, and third chakra stuff. So when a lot of times when we're moving those low frequencies, we're going to experience like turmoil in that area, and it can be often felt like nausea. So and then also Lauren was asking about the ringing. Bonnie, I know you love answering that question about the ringing of the ears.
I've been finding a lot of people that are suffering from suffering, right? That another low frequency suffering that we suffer from their ears ringing. And usually what I find it to be is beings playing games in the channels, and really like, let's see how much noise and aggravation we can create so that you get distracted by the ringing in your ears instead of what you're really focusing on. Do you see other things, Lily?
Well, one thing is that there's a myth. Some people have been told that the ringing in their ear is like an angel talking to them, and it's absolutely not the case. So if you have ringing in your ears, there's the good news, bad news about that. The good news is that you're aware of it and you're actually able to hear the movement of those low frequencies. And so the bad news is that there's low frequencies in your channels, but the good news is that there's something that you can do, because the light is always more powerful than the dark. So when you're experiencing that, you could just acknowledge it and say, oh, I hear it. You don't belong here. You are now commanded to leave. And that's all you really need to say. You're commanded to leave now. I clear my karma and agreements with you, and you're commanded to leave. And then the ringing should start. Because when you say that with power, they will move. They have to move. So
yeah, the beings will stop. They're not going to start. When you command them to leave, they will stop. But yeah, and Hadar, there are lots of medical explanations for ringing in the ears and all the things that we're talking about. There are always medical explanations. You can take them for the reason why things are happening. We can also offer you this, and it's not like one is right and one is wrong. I love that I have been getting these messages, literally messages through the chat, that not everybody has access to their Clairsentient channels. I actually had a long period of time where I wasn't feeling things at all. And one of the ways that it was explained to me was by agreement. I had said, I don't want to feel the really extreme low frequencies, so I'm not going to feel the really high frequencies either. And I'm just kind of going to sit in the middle and just kind of go with the flow. I just kind of feel, you know, I touch my hands, you know, I feel kind of the normal range of emotions. And so as I have cleared out my Clairsentient channels, I am starting to feel more. And lots of people who know me say, oh my gosh, you become such a lovey-dovey person. And I hug and I touch people, I hold their hands, I put my hands on them, and I am feeling more. But in the beginning, I wasn't feeling that. And so if you were in that place where you're like, but I am not the person you're describing, that's okay. You participate in this conversation as well, because there, you know, is an entire spectrum of people who are dealing with this, from the ones who feel it very intensely to the ones who barely feel it at all. So we're talking to everybody. Itchy skin.
okay.
Do you want to do the itchy skin?
Oh, yes. Well, as I said earlier, the skin, because it's the largest organ in our body, and it's a very complex system, the skin, actually. Very intimately connected with the lymphatic. And I know a lot about it because, and I've shared with you all, or some of you, in the past, about 3 or 4 years ago, I was closely almost diagnosed with leukemia, a lot of symptoms that I had on my skin. And it was really, in retrospect, and it really just dawned on me that my Clairsentient channels were coming back on live, and I was beginning to be very sensitive to almost everything around in my environment. But once I was able to really diagnose that the source of it was in my lymphatic system, I was able to move it. So itchy skin has a lot of sources that could be causing it. Sometimes it could be just hydration, you know, that you haven't hydrated enough. And so, of course, that's going to react chemically in your body. And sometimes it could just be that there is low frequencies in there. It could be bacteria. There's a lot of reasons that it could be, but it's always energetically a signal that your body is moving through some change, or to catch your attention, your soul tapping you on the shoulder and say, pay attention to something here. So most importantly, before you run to the doctor, and we don't ever recommend to you not to go to the doctor, but before you run to the doctor, ask your soul, what's the message here? What do I need to know? And then see what your soul has to say to you. And then run to the doctor if you need to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So please continue to put information, ask questions in the chat. I'm going to talk for just a couple of minutes. I have some information that is coming through for me, and Lily will certainly be happy to answer any questions, or we'll pick them up as we go along, because that's kind of how this process works. So I really love that I'm getting all these different examples for myself, things that I have gone through in ways that I have been experiencing clairsentience in my Clairsentient channels, because I've spent a lot of time when there was a download of information or a download of frequencies coming in, thinking to myself, I don't feel that. I don't know what everybody is getting so excited about. And I don't see it. And it's, you know, when it's information to come in, there's often not sound to it. So I don't have that information. And I spent a lot of time thinking, you know, what's wrong with me? Why am I different? What is going on? Why can't I experience this as well? And so for me, one of those big reasons was exactly what Hadar was just talking about, was that my soul had made a decision that I wasn't going to have access to my clairsentience until I had more claircognizance, which is what we're going to be talking about next week. More knowing of what is going on. You know, it was an agreement that was, this is how we are going to have all this unfold. And just because that's my experience does not mean that isn't somebody else's experience. And, you know, I know a lot of people who feel things so intensely. They have a difficult time going into the grocery store, being at the mall. My soul is really clear that that is not my life. I need to be at the mall on a regular basis. No, I'm just totally kidding. But it is the case that we all have different experiences, that we all have different agreements in our lives. And that is the case with all the channels that we are talking about. Now, there was someone who made a mention about when you just feel sad, when you're just feeling down about something, is that necessarily something that is going on with you? And the answer is sometimes you can just be sad, and sad is just sad. It doesn't have to be that there is a momentous thing occurring. But when you start to see more energy and you start to know more about energy, you start to understand that very rarely is the case that you are just feeling sad about something, that it's just like, you know, suddenly you had a moment. Usually what is going on is that there is some kind of download of information or a download of frequency. Now, tomorrow, I think it's at like around 11 o'clock in the morning. It's not my skill set. We are going into the new moon. And the new moon is bringing a whole lot of frequencies onto the planet because it's an opportunity for us to use that energy that is coming in and start to move more of these low frequencies out. That is exactly why we are here. We are here to move out, to clean up, to go through our house, so to speak, right? Our physical bodies, go through our house and clean up and make us go up in frequency. And as we go up in frequency, that allows us to clear more karma and agreements, to feel better, to have more clarity about our information. It's been very interesting to me how often I've been shown how we want to access more of our information, how we want to be more clear about the things that we are doing in our lives, about the choices that we're making, about everything that is happening in our lives. And as we have more clarity, then things become easier. Things open up and become more available to us. I was looking at the aspect of manifesting again this morning, and that word manifesting, it's been like a little bit of a trigger for me. There's a little bit of a like, what is it about that word that I just am not real comfortable with? And it is manifesting kind of sounds like work to me. Manifesting sounds like we have to be in a place where we have to like think, we have to put up pictures, we have to really work it. What's next? What do I want? How do I want to create this? What do I want to happen? And the idea is that when we access more of our own information, when we have more clairvoyance and clairaudience and clairsentience, claircognizance, when we have more awareness of all this stuff, things start to unfold exactly as they're supposed to. We can ask our soul, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I supposed to be going to this doctor? Am I supposed to be getting rid of this car? I know Lily was talking about buying a new car, and she's been asking her soul for the information. Which car am I going to get? It's a really interesting way to live your life, to be in alignment with your soul, to really pay attention to what is next for you, what you're supposed to be doing. I have the amazing opportunity to watch people follow their soul's direction. And as they follow their soul's direction, life is so easy. When you find that things are difficult, when things are hard, whether we're talking about clairsentience, where you're just constantly in fear about things that you're feeling and how you're living your life, when you find that those things are hard, it's really important that you stop and you take a step back, the proverbial step back, and look at, why is this hard? Where am I not in alignment with what I am doing next? Where have I not checked in with my soul about, is this the right decision? Is this where I'm going next? So the example they're giving me is that if Lily were to go and buy a car, and it was just, every time she went to go buy a car, it was difficult, it was hard. They were giving her a hard time about the loan, or the salesperson was, it's not in stock, or whatever it is, whatever difficulties could possibly come up, then that would be for her to say, oh, maybe I'm not supposed to buy a car right now. Maybe this is not the right time. And then stop and ask, is this the time I'm supposed to buy a car? And as we practice this more, then we hear, nope, or we hear something that really annoys us, like trust, 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 those kinds of messages. And as we pay more attention to those kinds of messages, we start to find that everything falls into place. Those people who say, I went to go buy a car, it was easy peasy, I was in and out in 5 hours. I'm just kidding. It always takes a long time to buy a car. I was in and out, I knew what I wanted, it was easy. That's when that's what you were supposed to be doing. That's where you were supposed to be that particular day. When things are difficult, when it feels like you're moving through muck and mud and it's a challenge, and they're really showing me this analogy of the soldier when they're like climbing through the muck and the mud. When it feels like this is the last place you want to be, check, stop and ask, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Feel your way through it. Ask your soul for the information. Now they're telling me to give you this last piece of information. It's really important for you all to know. Our bodies love to take direction from the low frequencies. They love, love, love to take direction from the low frequencies. The reason why they do that is because of all that time period we spent listening to the low frequencies. We are trained to look for the pain, the headache, the stomach ache, all of those kinds of issues. We want to write this message down. It's not a new one. If you've listened to us before, we did an entire evening on it. The love is the only truth. Love is the only truth. Love is the only truth. It is a key code. It's a sentence that is a key code that redirects the body to listen to the higher frequencies, to take direction from the higher frequencies in your body. We all have them. We all have love, joy, gratitude, beauty, so many high frequencies in our body. We have to remind ourselves, love is the only truth. Love is the only truth. Love is the only truth. And when we can remind ourselves about that, you have a headache, tell yourself, love is the only truth. You have a stomach ache, you feel nauseous, you're not sure what that feeling is or who it belongs to. Love is the only truth. It will get you through the tough times. Go ahead, Lily.
Thank you, Bonnie. So you don't know this, Bonnie, because I haven't shared this with you, but just to kind of piggyback on your sharing about my car experience, I haven't been able to figure out the car that I want. And so literally today I thought, it must not be time for me to buy a new car. And so there was, aside from the fact that I haven't been able to figure out what car from all the test driving I've done and all of that, there's something that I have to do as part of my process, because the car that I'm releasing is a lease car. And so in order to do that, I have to have it inspected. And every time I have called in the last 3 weeks to make an appointment for the inspection, I could never get through. And there's a recording that says, go to this website so you can expedite your scheduling. And I go to the website and it's like not working. So I haven't been able to schedule that appointment. And it says clearly it's going to take you at least 3 weeks. Finally, today I got through to them. And the guy says to me, well, when is your release date? And I said, March 11th. And he goes, well, we can't get you in until the 22nd. And I go, okay, it must not be time for me to release this car. So I called the company, and long story short, I'm getting an extension that's not going to be any penalties or anything to just buy me more time. And it just is perfect. So I just love it because you didn't know about this. And, it's exactly what is occurring. So
funny. It's very funny.
Information. Bonnie and I are always talking about that. That's what eighth chakra is really all about, is accessing your own information so you can master what it is to be human. And as I'm connecting with what the angelic realm is here, and our souls, our healing teams are here, Bonnie and I's healing teams are here, so with you. In fact, I'm seeing right now for every single one of you that is on this call, or if you're going to be listening to this recording at another time, there's like somebody on our healing team that's standing right next to you. I have never seen this before. This is the first time that I'm seeing this, and I'm seeing it with my clairvoyance. But Bonnie and I, between Bonnie's healing team and my healing team, there's got to be at least 100 or maybe even more, like maybe 300 light beings that are here, and they're like spreading themselves out, and I can see and I can see now the downloads that each one of you is receiving right now. I'm starting to feel it. Every single person right now, it's like you're getting your own customized download by somebody on either Bonnie or my healing team. Oh my God, this is the first time that this has ever happened on one of these calls. So it feels really special to me because it feels like we're each getting a special kind of attention. For some of you, it's like, oh my gosh, I want to be able to feel more. And for some of you, it's, oh my gosh, I want to be able to feel less. And there's like no middle ground almost, I hardly ever hear somebody say, oh, I'm feeling just about right. It's kind of like Goldilocks in the 3 bears, right? It's the baby bear is like, oh, this is too big for me. And the mama bear is, oh, this is just, no, that's not happening here. If you're clairsentient, you're either not getting enough information or you're getting too much information. And I really want to invite all of us to say, you know what, I'm getting the exact amount of information that I'm supposed to be getting right now. It might feel like too much or might feel like not enough. But when we're not getting enough of the information, in our opinion, in our humble personality's opinion, because, our personality is very competitive. Our personality wants to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak, in terms of the clairsentient, clairvoyance. If your friend is clairvoyant, you want to have clairvoyance too. It's kind of like keeping up with the Joneses, the way that we think about, if your neighbor has a BMW, you want to go out and get a BMW too. Well, if your neighbor, if your best friend, if your sister, if your brother has clairvoyance and their clairsentient channels are alert and activated and they're getting information from these channels, you want that for yourself too. I mean, it's just human nature. It's part of the ego-driven personality stuff that we have to deal with every single day. And guess what? It's normal. It's absolutely incredibly necessary for us to all experience these things at different levels, because that's what makes us different, is that source that I want to have this experience, this experience, this experience, this experience. And there's no way for source to have all the experiences that source wants to have in one person. We would blow up. So source has to split source up into millions of beings in bodies, so that source can experience everything that we're experiencing, the not enough, the good enough, the not so good, the too much, all of that. And so in this moment, we're all getting a healing on that. And Bonnie's eye and my healing team are right there with you. You each have a light being assigned to you in this moment, and they're kind of like standing next to you. And I know that sounds kind of really kooky or whatever, but I'm seeing it. I am seeing it with my clairvoyance, and I can see the support that we're receiving. It's kind of like they're holding our hands and they're saying, we're here to support you, and we understand, we have compassion. We understand that you could be a little nutty about all this stuff, because for centuries, so many of us have been tortured because we felt too much or saw too much or heard too much. We've been saying this in our other conversations that we've had in this series about the Claire channels, about the divine channels. We've been tortured. We've had our heads chopped off. We've had we've been hung. We've been beaten. We've been, assassinated and executed because we had all these channels working for us. And so of course we would be scared about it. Of course we would feel like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling too much, or I'm not feeling enough. And so they're like really holding our hands, and the download is complete now. What they just downloaded for us was a lot of comprehension frequencies and a lot of clarity frequencies and illumination frequencies too. So we could see with more clarity and understand with more clarity what's here for us to experience next in our journey. We're all in different journeys, but we each have that very unique journey. And as we embrace that, and as we move through these low frequencies that Bonnie was talking about, that we've been talking about during this call, as we move those low frequencies down and we alchemize them and we bring more light into them and release them, integrate them into our body and really hold them with love, because all these low frequencies, they're still a creation of source. All low frequencies, all of creation, no matter how uncomfortable it feels or no matter how painful it may be as an experience for us, it's still all within the creation of source. And so for that alone, it's for us to be grateful about it and for us to stand in the expansiveness and in the openness to know why is it here, and to ask why is it here. So that's the thing that, from what Bonnie was saying, and what's really here for me too to share with you, is ask. Keep asking the questions. Why is this here? What is the information? What do I need to know? Okay, thank you. What else do I need to know? Okay, thank you. I got that. What else am I supposed to know? And to trust that everything that is you're experiencing is here because your soul is tapping you on the shoulder. And, Bonnie said something about that she's witnessing people taking direction from their soul. And it's such a beautiful thing, because we generally have not been taking direction from our soul. We have been taking direction from who knows what.
She gets so choked up about this conversation. Okay, so I love that I have a quick opportunity to talk. One of the questions that actually came up was about how teachers will tell you that you just need to push through and work through it and work. It's that, what is it, the Nike commercial? Just do it kind of thing. And, we call that spiritual and religious programming. Things are not supposed to be difficult. Things are not supposed to be hard. That is a myth that says if you're not working hard, then there must be something wrong with you. And in fact, I spend a lot of time sitting on the sofa and listening to my soul and really connecting with what is next. And that is not difficult. You do not have to slave over anything. Now, if you're digging a hole, you might have to sweat. There was another message that came up about that somebody has hip pain and they are working through some things on their first chakra. I think it was Lauren. I might not have that correct. I was looking to see. Let's see. Anybody, okay. So that actually shows up for me as pain in the ball of your right foot. And that is something that we are going to work on. That is not your first chakra issue. And it's one of the things that is really interesting when you start to see energy, is that it does not have to show up in the place where you feel it. And most times it doesn't even have anything to do with where you're feeling it. The other day, my husband was had an injury, a tennis injury, and did something to his foot. And he said I could work on him. I started working on him, and I put my hand kind of on his fourth chakra, on his heart. And he said to me, that's not where it hurts. And I was like, yeah, that's not where the problem is. The problem is in your fourth chakra. It was also in his back as well. And so just to let you know that we have a lot of these myths about where pain comes from and what happens with pain. There's I can't even remember them anymore because I've forgotten them, but when you feel things on the right side, it's because you're receiving. And if you feel things on the left side, it's because of your father. Anybody who remembers those, feel free to pop them into the chat because I really don't remember them anymore. But those things are not the case. You can feel something in your nose and it comes from your toe. It does not matter where you have the issue. It is not related to something in your nose. It can be anywhere on your body. Those are the low frequencies that are creating that. We also talk about the pain that we can be in, and there we go. Lauren pops in. Left is feminine and the right is masculine, and then there's the dad and the mom side and receiving and giving and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, all of that stuff is not the case. So I am seeing a lot of healing coming in for everyone. There is a lot of moving out of the low frequencies, out of the Clairsentient channels, and giving people some more connection and access to their knowing around the pain. So it is a process. It's not something that happens right away. It's not something that immediately, ta-da, you suddenly have all your feeling and all your understanding about it. It actually is something that just happens over time. So I thank you, Lauren, for popping that in. And Eileen, I appreciate you helping out there. Well, and then we still have Lily. See, she is still here.
Oh my goodness. I don't know what the heck happened there. Go ahead, Bonnie.
It's okay. I was sort of picking up and giving them some of the explanations. Did you have anything that you wanted to say to finish up a thought? Or whatever.
I can't talk. I love everybody, and thank you for joining us. This has been amazing, and I can still see all our healing team with all of you.
That's beautiful.
I definitely have low frequencies coming out of my throat right now, so.
For sure. For
sure. They're not all mine. They're not all mine.
For sure, for sure. So I do want to, and Lily will jump on Facebook, and we'll also be doing a message for us on Sunday. Not that I'm snagging you now, but for all the stuff she didn't get to say tonight. So I want to thank everyone who popped in questions and shared their own information in the chat. It is really what makes a difference here with the Tuesday night calls. That's the difference, is who is on and who shares. Next week, we are going to be doing our Claircognizant channels. Cognizant. You want to have more knowing. It is the biggest one. You want to have your knowing. Tune in next week. We're going to tell you why it is so incredibly important. It is going to be the last of the series. I want to remind you guys again that you can listen to the programs on YouTube and on SoundCloud. They are absolutely amazing. We amaze ourselves often. Last Friday, we did the program Soul Basics, and it is still available for purchase. People who were on can certainly pop in and tell everyone how incredible the information was and the healing that Melchizedek provided for us. If you are interested in getting a copy of it, it's on, we have it available as a video and as an audio. All you have to do is send us an email to eighthchakracompany@gmail.com, and we will send you the recording. It's just $50. It is so incredible and so worth it. And then because it is our very last call next week, we want to encourage you to invite a friend, have somebody else come on with you, sit and watch it with somebody else so you can explain some of what is going on. Lily, do you want to have anything else?
Like I said, I love you all so much, and thank you for being here, and thank you, Bonnie, and we'll catch you next week. It's been amazing.
Take care. Have a great week.